Let's see how this is gonna go.
What up, man?
There's Omari getting his stretch on. Hopefully we don't get booted.
Right. We shouldn't.
If it is, it's gonna be his fault. He already told me he's gonna pay for my bill if I get one.
For the record, I did not confirm that.
All right, what's up, everybody? We back after a 2-week break. I took off last week just because it was Thanksgiving. You know, I was gonna start putting some videos together. And I'm like, man, you know, it's holiday time. I'm gonna take this week off, and then we'll just come back and double with it and hit them with the next week. So here we are now, back after a week off for the holiday, and you know, we'll be back to our 1 week consistent videos. Let's talk a little bit about what happened during that gap. First thing, both of my last 2 long runs, so the long run from last week and the long run from, well, this past last week, I did solo. All right, Sunday, time for the long run. So this will be the 2nd week in a row where my long run I have to do a solo, you know, just because due to, man, people have a lot of things, personal injuries and family things, all that kind of stuff. So every once in a while, you know, even if you have a group of people that you're running with, you might find yourself in a position where you need to run solo. And it could be one of those times where you're like, now I don't feel like doing it, you know, start to feel dependent on those people. And I think it's important for me to make sure that doesn't happen. And both of those times was just because, y'all know I typically run, I have 2 people that I run with, Habib and Marquel. But in situations in the past, you've seen it where, like, you know, one person can't make it because of this or that, or another one can't make it because of this or that. It just so happened that over these last 2 weeks, neither one of them could make it. And so I found myself in a situation where, you know, for those that have known me for a while, I usually always ran my run solo, all of my runs by myself. Then I started getting some people that I would train with. And so now I had to kind of get myself back in that old mindset, which is, you know, it's a little rainy outside, it's a little cold outside, you don't have your training partners to do your long run with, you got to get out there and get it done. And that was just a reminder for me. I was reflecting on that and ruminating on those thoughts as I was running, really for these past 2 weeks, was just remembering that we are all accountable for our own training. So what can happen, or at least what I've experienced, is sometimes when you have people that you work with, there becomes like this little codependency sort of situation that happens where, you know, you rely on that other person to motivate you, that other person is relying on you to motivate them, and then if one of you all is unable to make it, then it makes it tougher for the other person. But I have to remember and to remind myself that, you know, even though we train in groups sometimes and we run races in groups, running is really a solo effort. And for those of us out there that have participated in runs and races, we kind of know what that feels like. Where, yeah, when you're out there, you know, you're out there running your marathon or whatever, you're in the last 10K. It might be other people with you. It might be other people that you're racing against. There might be other people that you're using as an external motivation or a point of reference for you to drive after. But the effort, that gut, that thing that gets you to keep moving even though you don't feel like it, that has to come from inside of you. You have to have your own self-sustained internal fortitude. And those things are fortified, and those things are strengthened and developed during your training cycle. So happy to report that I was able to complete both of my long runs. I'll throw those times up. I was able to really run them at my pace, at a real consistent, even pace as well, which lets me know that I'm again continuing to get stronger, continuing to bounce back. So I was really happy with the output that I was able to deliver on those long runs. From that, we also had the Peachtree Road Race, which is odd to talk about the Peachtree Road Race around Thanksgiving. For those that are in Atlanta, and probably even if you're not in Atlanta, you know that Peachtree Road Race falls on July 4th. It is the world's largest 10K. It is a big event here in the city, but however, due to COVID-19, precautions had to be taken. So the race was first pushed back to Thanksgiving, and then subsequently was shifted to a virtual race. So this was a virtual race that took place over Thanksgiving weekend.
All right, here
About
we
to
go.
get started in 3, 2.
2, 1. Thank you, Nike, for being slow. Apple.
And we're kicking off the 51st edition of the AJC Peachtree Road Race
Virtual.
A while back when this first started to develop, a friend of mine's old co-host, a guy I call my brother Omari, asked me if I would run the Peachtree Road Race Virtual with him, to which I said, of course, absolutely. But then I was kind of faced with a dilemma when I found out that they were still going to be giving out the top 1,000 finisher mugs. So I knew that even though I wasn't planning on outright racing it, I wanted to run a time that was fast enough to give me enough cushion to get the mug, because I've gotten that mug now for the last 6 or 7 years in a row, so that has become a tradition. So what I decided to do was I ran my own 10K in my neighborhood. I did that the day after Thanksgiving, and then the day after that, so that Saturday, I got with Omari. He wanted to run it on the Peachtree Road Race course, so then I was able to run with him. So for myself, I submitted my time on my solo effort, but then I still doubled back and went out and ran with him, which was really really cool. It was nice being out there on the course. It was nice just seeing him chase for his goal. When we first met up, we talked about what he wanted to do, and he said he wanted to try to run it in 48 minutes, and he accomplished that. Well, he ran it in 48 minutes and some change. So it was just, and he ran a really strong, really consistent effort, which was a PR for him. So shout out to him for putting in the work, for really challenging himself, for really taking an aggressive or assertive stance towards the race, because a lot of people, myself included, didn't want to go all out and didn't want to race, but he came in there saying, hey, we got some cooler weather, I'm gonna get out here on the course because I just want to prove to myself that I can actually run my best time, that with the help of this cooler weather, I think I can get a PR, which he was able to do. So shout out to him for that. Now that things are going pretty well, now that I'm building up my long runs, now that I'm starting to do a little bit of the speed work and I'm starting to feel things come together, I'm still targeting a spring marathon, which I am still not quite yet ready to announce, but it's there. I already know what I'm looking at. I've got it in my mind, and I'm preparing as if that's going to be the case. Normally what I do for my spring marathon, I use the Red Nose Half Marathon, which is a free half marathon that takes place in Columbus. I use that as a tune-up. So Red Nose is still planning to have their half marathon, so I went ahead and signed up for that. I'm not 100% sure yet I'm gonna do it, but I'm leaning that way. And if I'm feeling in shape, that'll be a nice tune-up for me to let me know whether or not I'm really in shape to put forward a solid effort towards a marathon in the spring. So we'll see how that goes as well. For those if you haven't signed up already, I'm sorry to say it is sold out. So that race is already sold out, but I know a lot of people that have already registered. It's a very popular race for those that are in Atlanta, obviously if you're in Columbus, in the local area, just because it's an opportunity to get some good competition on a pretty fast course, mostly out and back. It's a quick, for us in Atlanta, it's like a quick, I don't know, hour and 15-minute drive, so you can just get there the morning of and shoot right back. So yeah, if you didn't get in already, unfortunately it's too late, but for those that are in, hopefully we have a nice fun time down there. I've got a new take on the Hoka Clifton 7. So 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, one of the updates I mentioned that I ran in them, that I really enjoyed them. I thought they were great shoes for long runs to take it easy in, but maybe perhaps wouldn't be appropriate if you're trying to move up tempo. I have to double back on that. I've been running in those shoes a lot over the last 2 weeks, and I've done a lot of work in the pace range that I would consider to be up tempo, and they've held up well. They're not racing shoes, don't get me wrong, but I can certainly generate some turnover. I can do some up tempo, fast paced type work, particularly for longer runs. If I'm doing it sort of an up tempo, mid long to long run, I think both of my last 2 long runs, maybe my last 3 long runs, I did them in the Hokas, and I was able to run well, keep really solid, quick pace throughout. So I have to add that on. I have to add that on to my review that not only are they good for cushion, you can go a little bit up tempo in them. Don't try to take them out for track work. Don't probably use them for races. But they're a really solid all around option for a long run to mid long run, even if you plan on picking up the pace. And yeah, I think that's it for the week. A lot of solo running. Again, I did get a chance to run with my brother Omari, and still continuing to get into mileage. I've been in the 90s now for the last 2 weeks. So as we're going into December, I'm going to slowly creep into the 100 miles and try to hold that for 3 or 4 weeks. We'll see. I'll need to time it right so that I can't fully taper for red nose, but I figure if I get up in the hundreds and then the week I run red nose, probably hang out somewhere in the 90s that week, maybe the upper 80s. This way I can kind of get a better gauge. It won't be a fresh leg perspective, but it'll be just a little bit of insight on where I am. And the good thing is that I've done that red nose race for, I don't know, probably 3 of the last 5 years or so. So I'll have other times to sort of index it against that can serve as predictors for what, again, I could do for a spring marathon. So that's really all I have for my update this week, man. I hope all of y'all had a safe holiday as we get back and head back into the workplace. And yeah, peace.